Believe it or not, there is a fine art when it comes to creating really great Southern cuisine. I like to say I'm a pro because I learned from the best, my grandmother. Today I'm taking a really popular Southern dessert and giving it my twist and my spin. This is my recipe for 7-Up Bourbon Peach Cobbler. Start by making a super fantastic crust from scratch with bits of cream cheese mixed throughout. Then the filling is super simple. It's peaches, brown sugar, cinnamon, butter, 7-Up, and a dash of bourbon amongst a few other things. This truly is the perfect peach cobbler recipe. And of course, everything we do, it's gotta be simple, easy, delicious, and just good food. So let's get started, all right? So we've got some peaches here, and essentially what I wanna do is just go ahead and cut our peaches up and get our peaches into a bowl, because this is going to be a really good take on peach cobbler. So I'm using really super ripe peaches. They're totally in season. They're super juicy, and what you want to do is just give them a slice, right? So that any way you slice, it'll be good, as long as they get in the bowl, so they can get in my stomach, okay? So I'm just gonna give these a slice. Totally okay to use frozen peaches. It's cool to use the canned peaches, but if you can get them fresh, there's nothing like it, right? It's really, really, really good. I gotta say, growing up, I had my share of peach cobbler. My grandmother used to make some really, really good peach cobbler. Every event, like every family event you go to for like the holidays and Christmas and Thanksgiving, there was always peach cobbler. And if you're anything like my family, there's somebody who can make it really, really good, and there's one person that you're like, please, I hope they don't make the peach cobbler this year. So that always seemed to have happened to us. So I'm just giving them a slice and getting them in the bowl. And this is going to be great. So what we're going to essentially do is we're going to make peach cobbler, right? But I'm giving it sort of my take and my spin. It says Darius Cooks, right? So we're going to do a couple things that'll be a little different for me. And one is we're going to make the crust from scratch. And I got a little bit of cream cheese in the crust for a nice mouthfeel, a nice viscosity. That's what we want to go for with that crust. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and add in some bourbon, right? That's going to be great. Bourbon and peaches go really, really well together. And then I've also got a little bit of 7-Up I'm going to throw in, all right? And I'm from Chicago, so I don't know where you are watching this, but if you're on the East Coast, like I live now, I still say pop. So a little bit of 7-Up pop, this is going to be great. So we're just going to go ahead and get the rest of our peaches cut so that we can get those started for this 7-Up Bourbon Peach Cobbler. All right, so our peaches look amazing. They smell great. So I just went ahead and sliced those up. You can check those out. They're nice, sort of bite-sizey kind of pieces. Not too small, but then also not too big, because we want this all to just melt together to be really, really good for this peach cobbler. This is going to be a fantastic recipe, right? So I developed this because I was like, yo, what can I do just to make it a little bit different? What can I do to just sort of say, I want to keep this to be true to my Southern roots and how my grandmother and my aunt did it, but what else can I do to spice this up? So I figured out how to do it, and this is going to be great. So in this pot, I've got some butter that we're just going to melt down, and I'm actually going to add some brown sugar to this pan as well. So now that we got the brown sugar in, brown sugar is good on its own, right? But we want to do a little bit more to give it a little bit more sweetness. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm giving it about a cup of brown sugar and then a cup of regular white sugar as well. I just want to put it in, and immediately the butter, you can sort of smell it. And the brown sugar is caramelizing. That's what we want, right? This is not how my grandmama did it. She didn't do it this way, but this is the way we're going to start this off. This is going to be great. It's almost like making caramel. This is going to be fantastic. Caramel, caramel, It's all about what side of the river you were born on, you know? So I'm gonna give this a stir. And just until the butter melts is what I wanna do. This looks great. And now I've got some 7-Up pop. Because listen, you know, we're gonna put in some cinnamon and nutmeg, and those spices can be pretty heavy. We wanna lighten this up a little bit and have that sort of refreshing thing hit your tongue that says, wow, that's different, but it's good. So I'm doing that 2 ways. I'm gonna squeeze in some lime juice, but why not add in a little bit of 7-Up pop to this? So this is the perfect time. Just when the butter melts out, I'm gonna throw in about a cup or so of the 7-Up pop. So this looks great, this smells great, this is exactly what we want, this sort of caramel thing to happen, right? So now is the time I want to go ahead and add in some, a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg. Now you can't have peach cobbler without those spices, you need those. That's just what peach cobbler is, it's like the regular culprit. So I'm going to add that in right now, about a tablespoon or so of cinnamon. I like it nice and cinnamony, that's a word. And then a little bit of nutmeg. Alright, just that little bit is going to add tons of flavor, and I got to tell you, I could already smell this, and this smells great. I mean, how bad could that be? Butter, and a little bit of sugar, some nutmeg, some cinnamon, a little bit of pop. This is going to be great. So I'm just going to keep stirring this up, just like this, and when this comes to a boil, we got to thicken this some kind of way. So we got to figure out, hey, what do we do to thicken this mixture? Because you don't want this loosey-goosey, you know, sort of around the pan. You want this to have a really nice mouthfeel. You want that syrup to form into almost a gravy, if you will. So what I'm going to do is make what's called a cornstarch slurry. So I'm going to add in into a bowl just a little bit of cornstarch, right? Not much. And then to that, I'm going to add in a little bit of cold water, just like that. Right, or half and half. And I'm going to give this a stir. Very simple to do. And if you look at our mixture that's boiling away here, this is ready for this cornstarch slurry. I want this to thicken immediately. Now, I haven't put in 2 of the really star ingredients, which is going to be our bourbon and our vanilla, and a little squeeze of lime. Not yet. I want to thicken this up real quick and then add that in. So watch what happens as soon as I add in this cornstarch slurry. It's going to thicken almost immediately. Just like that. Now I'm going to leave this on high heat for a second. And look at that. That's going to thicken and give us a really good sauce. Alright, cool. So I'm going to shut the heat down. This is coming to a boil. And we got to add in 2 more ingredients. 3 more. Who's counting, right? So the first that my grandmama didn't add in was a little bit of bourbon. Some Jim Beam bourbon is like one of the best ones out there, right? So I'm going to add in a little bit of bourbon. Look at that. That looks amazing. So a little bourbon goes in, just like that. A little. Or a lot. I'm not judging, right? So I'm putting in probably about a half cup or so. That's about the recipe. Whatever you feel. You know, this is all about what you feel, how you feel. Listen, I made up the recipe, so you certainly can go ahead and mix it up however you want to. So our bourbon is in, and I'm going to throw in a little bit of vanilla. Right? So just think, vanilla, bourbon, cinnamon, it's all kind of heavy, right? So we're going to lighten it up really easily with a squeeze of lime. You're not going to taste the lime, but what you will taste is this really good balance of like, what is that, right? It's going to be great balanced against all the heaviness of the spices. So a little lime goes in. Fresh squeeze, by the way, okay? None of that bottle stuff. Get out of here with that. And just give it a stir, just like that. And see the cornstarch is done? It's really thickened this up nicely. Look at that. It coats the back of the spoon just the way we want. That is what we're going for. So this is a good time to taste it. I mean, why not see what we're working with, right? Just to make sure all of our flavors are there. Everything we want to see is incorporated really well. I mean, look at that. That's great as a sauce. This is great, like just pour over some ice cream or a cake or a muffin or shoe leather. Who cares, right? Let's give it a taste and see. Uh-oh. Be careful. Got juice everywhere. Perfect. That is really good. That's going to be a great accompaniment for these peaches. Speaking of, let's just go ahead and put our peaches in a oven-safe dish, right? And then what I'm going to do, now this is different. This is a different way of doing it. My grandmother would take canned peaches and boil them down, like many of the traditional recipes calls for. But I think this leaves some integrity to our peaches. This is what you want to see. You want to see some whole pieces of the peaches in. Look at this sauce. I'm just going to pour over just like that. This just requires a moment of silence. Just like that. Moment of silence. I wish you guys could smell this. That butter and that bourbon with these peaches is a great combination. And look at that. We have just enough. Just enough to go over the top. Just like that. All right. So I'm going to let this hang out for a second. And then let's talk about what we're going to do for this cream cheese crust. That's going to be amazing. That's going to go right on top. All right. So now that we got our peaches just hanging out, what I'm going to do is just going to flour our surface really quickly, just like that. And I've got this crust, this dough that's been sitting in the fridge. And it's really simple to do. All I did was I just combined 3 cups of flour. I combined 2 sticks of butter. I combined 4 ounces, which is very much equal to a half pack of cream cheese, and about 6 tablespoons of water. That was it, right? That's all we got in the crust, and this crust is going to be fantastic. So what I want to do is just sort of work it a little bit. I don't want to overwork it, but I'm going to roll it out so I can go ahead and put the dough right on top of our peach cobbler. So that looks about good. That's about a ½ inch or so of this crust. And we're going to cut it a little differently. Here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cut the crust into sort of thick strips. And I'll show you what I mean. About right there is good. This is thicker than normal because we're going to do a nice lattice crust on top. And we're going to do it with thick strips, just like this. Make it look nice and pretty. I mean, we went through all this work to produce this bad boy. Let's make it look good, right? All right, so these are our strips. We probably won't need all of these. We can reserve some if we need to. Whew, does that look good? Does that look good? So I'm going to start by laying down 3 strips of dough right across. 1, 2, and then here's 3, just like that. See what I mean? Thinner than normal, and I'm going to go ahead and do our lattice on top. Just like that. Roll that one back, and then roll this one back. And I can even put this dough right there. Come back and then roll these 2 back. Add another one, just like that. This looks and it smells amazing. One more piece of dough with that cream cheese and that butter, just like that. All right, and I'm just going to go ahead and pinch off the edges. And I want to get an egg wash. Brush this with a little bit of egg wash all over. And the egg wash is just nothing but a beaten egg and a little bit of cream or water or milk or whatever you got going on. And this is going to be great. It's going to make sure it browns up nicely, golden brown, and it's going to look really good in terms of presentation. And although it was simple to make, you're going to fool everybody into thinking that it took you all day to do it. The last thing is just a little bit of sugar right on top, just to ensure it browns up nicely. And this goes off into an oven that's preheated at 350 degrees. It's going to bake off for about 40 to 45 minutes. Alright. So it's been about 45 minutes, and here's what I've got. I've got a piping hot peach cobbler that looks amazing. That's that cream cheese crust on top. The house smells literally amazing. It smells like Georgia with all these peaches floating around here. Look at this crust, man. This crust is super golden brown. Look at the syrup that we made with the 7-Up pop and a little squeeze of lime juice. If you don't have lime, use lemon, you know, but a nice little citrus amount. And I just want to go in for a taste because peach cobbler is my thing. I'm a peach cobbler purist. I don't need ice cream. I don't need whipped cream. I don't need any of that if the peaches are good. And these are made with those fresh peaches. So this is going to be amazing. I want to get the perfect bite. Here we go. I got crust. I got peach. I got juice. I'm going to taste it. That is nothing less than amazing. The peaches still have a nice feel to it. They're still sort of firm. That bourbon right on the back of the tongue that goes great with that nice citrus note from the lime that we put in. That 7-Up brings up the temperature, brings it up a couple notches. And that crust, I mean, come on. Come on. I mean, how could you not like a crust that has cream cheese and butter? That's amazing. You gotta give this a try. If you love peach cobbler like I do, you wanna take a throwback to the way I grew up, try this. This is amazing and I love it. I guarantee it. The recipe is on my website. It's DariusCooks.com. 2 things I gotta tell you. Food is my life. Life is my food. Until next time, with this kind of peach cobbler, I wanna wish you happy cooking from my heart to yours.